Paul, doping test. Again? Come on, doping again? Paul Pogba has been banned from football for 4 years for doping, and his career is probably over. The Frenchman promises to keep fighting in court, and Inside Football will tell you about all the details of this case and try to figure out who Pogba is, a football genius or a fraud. So subscribe to the channel and let's get started! The story of Pogba's doping test began in August last year. The test, which revealed the presence of elevated testosterone levels in the player's body, was done after the first round of a Serie A match against Udinese. Interestingly, Paul spent the entire game on the bench. The tribunal said Pogba had violated anti-doping rules when they found the prohibited substance non-endogenous testosterone metabolites, adding that the results were consistent with the exogenous origin of target compounds. Italy's anti-doping agency in a few weeks said that Pogba was suspended provisionally with immediate effect. Pending a trial and testing of a backup B sample, he risks a suspension of up to 4 years. Since then, an investigation has taken place which ultimately confirmed the initial conclusions, and the punishment of a 4-year suspension from the sport has taken effect. The ban will also take into account the time of the investigation, so Paul will be able to return to football in September 2027, when he will be 34. However, given that over the past 2 seasons, Pogba has spent just over 200 minutes on the pitch due to various injuries, it can be assumed that when he is allowed to return, he will be out of football for 5 years. The question is whether a player who has never been known for great discipline will have the motivation to stay fit for that long to play football for a few more years. With the probability approaching 100%, we can say that Pogba's career will be over. Therefore, Paul intends to appeal to the court and at least reduce the sentence to 2 years. If he succeeds, he will return to the game at 32, and there are likely to be interested clubs that will give the Frenchman his last contract. Pogba reacted to the verdict with the following statement: "I believe that the verdict is incorrect. I'm sad, shocked, and heartbroken that everything I've built in my professional playing career has been taken away from me. As a consequence of the decision announced today, I will appeal this before the Court of Arbitration for Sport," the Frenchman wrote on Instagram. French football journalist Julien Laurens shared details of what Pogba's defense looked like in court. The story being told is he's got a friend who's a doctor in Miami who gave him some food supplements which he took not knowing what's in them, and that's what caused all of this. Lawrence said, "This is the unusual position of a player in such a situation, and this kind of defense is unlikely to help reduce the sentence. Ignorance does not absolve from responsibility." Lawrence believes that Paul could have a different approach. He could have easily said, "I was naive. I didn't pay attention and I should have mentioned it to Juventus medical staff, and maybe the sentence would have been reduced." For him to expect less than 4 years because he said, "I didn't know I was taking it and hoping for the best, I find it a little naive." The journalist shared his opinion. "We will keep an eye on whether Paul succeeds, and for now we just wish him good luck." In fact, the possibility that this could be the end of Pogba's career is not surprising. He was a brilliant footballer, a talent who could define an era with multiple Ballon d'Ors and go down in history as one of the best ever. I remember seeing him as a 15-year-old, and he was the best thing I've ever seen. He was so good, a generational talent, an absolute genius. Julien Laurens shares his memories. At the same time, Paul was constantly getting into various scandals, quarreling with coaches and living a life that was not favorable to success on the football pitch. In fact, this is why his career turned out the way it did. He still became a world champion, won 4 Serie A titles with Juventus and the Europa League with Manchester United. But was this his limit? Absolutely not. Extremely poor decision-making ruined his career no less than all the other problems. Remember how he originally left Manchester United as a free agent in 2012 with a scandal. His behavior angered Sir Alex Ferguson himself. "I don't think he showed us any respect at all, to be honest," the Scotsman said. However, a much bigger mistake was returning to Old Trafford for €100 million. Of course, Ferguson was no longer at the club, otherwise this transfer would not have taken place. Obviously, Paul chose money. He left Juventus, which was still at its peak, and in 2017, without Pogba, reached the Champions League final while continuing to win Serie A every year. From the outside, everything looked like a perfect comeback story with the typical "I haven't finished business here" Pogba hysteria and a special track dedicated to the player by rapper Stormzy. But in reality, the player joined the crisis-ridden Manchester United, which was unable to cope with Sir Alex's retirement. The lack of regular play in the Champions League, poor seasons, and insane instability in the Frenchman's performances are what we saw on the pitch. Flashy parties, changing hairstyles, expensive cars, traveling, dabbing – that's what Pogba preferred off the pitch. You are like a person with the flu, with a virus in a closed room. You pass that virus to the others. You don't play, you don't respect players and supporters, and you kill the mentality of the good, honest people around you. That is what reportedly Jose Mourinho told the Frenchman in front of the entire United team. Even if Paul did not create trouble for himself, they found him. Just think of the big scandal with his brother Matthias in 2022. Back then, the French media reported that Matthias, along with his childhood friends, extorted 13 million euros from Paul for allegedly not disclosing some terrible secret. Later, Matthias recorded a video and threatened his brother again. In the end, it turned out that Paul Pogba allegedly paid a witch to cast a curse on his French national teammate Kylian Mbappé. There was no evidence to prove it, so Matthias went to jail, from where he was later released with a ban on communicating with his mother and brother. Of course, this story affected Paul regardless, and he even admitted that he wanted to retire because of these events. Money changes people. It can break up a family. It can create a war. Sometimes I was just by myself thinking, I don't want to have money anymore. I just don't want to play anymore. I just want to be with normal people so they will love me for me, not for the fame, not for the money. Sometimes it's tough, Paul said. Perhaps this was one of the reasons why Pogba eventually got involved with doping, which led to the current situation. For the past 2 years, Paul has not looked like a man who enjoys life at all. Paul Pogba will be remembered as a footballer who transformed into a world-class player to help the French national team in major tournaments. Those were indeed the days when the midfielder's performances were mesmerizing. In the end, he became the star of the 2018 World Cup, scoring a goal in the final and lifting the trophy over his head. It was the peak of the Frenchman's career, which could have turned out very differently. Friends, write in the comments how you see Paul Pogba's contribution to the history of football. Is he a fraud or a genius? Or maybe the truth, as always, is somewhere in between. Inside Football was with you. We watch our favorite game from a different angle. Watch our other videos and take care of yourself. See you in a bit.